Okay, episode 24.
Oh, and clap.
Yes.
Wait.
There we go. There we go. You can choose whichever one you want. You're welcome. You're welcome.
They all probably work, but...
All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Demon Slayer, Season 1, Episode 24. All right.
Nezuko and Tanjiro are in the clear, at least for now.
Yes, while the Hashira might not necessarily like the idea, they are going to go along with it.
Yep.
And in a lot of ways, that is a good sign for the future and the longevity of not only our main characters, but in some ways, the Hashira not turning on each other in some kind of over dramatic kind of reaction to working with a demon. Now, it makes sense in a lot of ways because they've spent their whole lives trying to kill demons, but we are in a situation right now where Muzan has shown himself for the first time in some ways to almost, I think, all of them. Like, have any of them even seen Muzan? Like,
I don't think so.
That's so weird. The idea of being like, oh, there's a Dark Lord out there. We don't even know necessarily what he looks like. Well, no, they probably know what he looks like in general, maybe some identifying features or something. Right. But maybe they can't smell out demons necessarily.
Yeah. Then this punk-ass red-haired kid with a demon that doesn't eat humans comes in and is like, oh yeah, I met Muzan. You know, I can smell him out.
Hold up. Wait, what?
You guys can't do that? You guys can't just like smell Muzan? I wasn't even trying to find him. I didn't even know who he was. You know, it's just, oh hey, hi. You know, nope.
Like, Master, we need him at the front of our pack. Now.
And wait, he did know who he was, I think. But anyways, yeah.
But yeah. So we're in that situation right now where the Hashiras are probably going to get on the trail. Everyone in our main party is resting, recuperating. Specifically Inosuke, though, who took it really badly based on not just the fact that he was defeated, but he was also left alone, and he had to just sit there and wallow in his own powerlessness, which feels really bad for someone who just kind of wanting to be helpful. And
after all
wasn't really.
Yeah, even with all the times that he headbutted the trees, you know, it didn't help.
And Zenitsu has to take medicine on a frequent basis in order to get himself unchibified.
But we could, in the meantime, have conversations between him and Nezuko, or interactions at the very least, where they're both miniaturized and small, and it would be amazing.
And he's just like, Nezuko, I promise, not everything shrunk this way. And Nezuko's just like, you know, very Tanjiro disgust, but instead it's Nezuko just like,
Yes, definitely. Oh boy.
But here we go, y'all.
Here we are.
Without further ado, let's get into this. Alright everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right. So Shinobu has been characterized a lot more now. She's the one that was kind of getting the most focus in general of the Hashiras. So this was the one that made sense to kind of go in a little bit deeper and develop here. Yeah. And there were some good, simple, but good contradictions that they brought up with her character there.
Yes.
She, like Tanjiro, lost family. In a similar way with regards to bonds that are, you know, real, that are unbreakable in some ways. Her bond was one that even beyond death, she carries some desire or aspect of the dream that her older sister had. Right. Even though she herself is not entirely capable of doing it because she cannot completely quell the anger and rage that she feels for demons.
And I gotta say, I absolutely love that because one of the things that can happen a lot of the times in stories, whenever you have characters that need to be super antagonistic at the beginning for some reason or other, to kind of be a sentinel or a guardian, an obstacle for the protagonist to overcome, right? Yeah. You know, to show their resolve and whatnot. Later, when you want to make them sympathetic, it can be an easy trap to go into where you end up kind of characterizing them in such a way so that their previous behavior doesn't make sense.
Or at the very least, there's no correlation to the characterization in the previous events, meaning that there wasn't any foreshadowing for this.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's so different and alien from how they were initially presented that you're like, well, I can't reconcile the two. You need to spend more time. And then you end up in some ways not necessarily going into a full-on mistake as a character, but you end up wasting too much time kind of bridging the gap.
Sure, and that can be across a whole spectrum of to what degree it goes to. But in this case, it was something where they brought up the idea of, yeah, she wants to, because that was the immediate contradiction from the very beginning with Shinobu is you want to be friends with demons, but you also want to torture them.
Yes.
That's kind of in conflict.
Those are antithetical.
Right, exactly. Either that means that what you mean by friends is something very dark, or there's something that needs to be explained.
Right, yeah.
And here, having it be something where it's that she does want to be friends, but it's more of the idea that my sister believes that maybe we could be.
Right.
And that seems noble.
Right. My sister saw a way in which she could have empathy for demons.
Right.
She said sympathy, but I think that's probably in some way something where it's hard to go all the way to empathy. In some ways, maybe that's where the differences are between someone like Tanjiro, even, and just generally those that would feel bad for demons. Because I think in some ways, Shinobu does have sympathy for demons. Now, empathy, that's a whole nother step.
Right. That's probably why the anger's there. And to just be perfectly clear, by sympathy, you mean like, feeling for somebody as opposed to empathy where you're actually feeling what they are feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And in Shinobu's case, I love the idea that it almost feels like in spite all of this, while she wishes that she could be friends with demons, she can't get over the fact that she is so unbelievably angry and absolutely hates demons, because of the awful things that they do.
Yes. And then she meets Tanjiro and Nezuko. And Tanjiro and Nezuko are not only the picture of, like, the perfect picture of the dream in which she carried from her older sister, but also they are the combination of that with the familial bond that she recognizes in herself and her late older sister. Something where when family goes beyond, blood, if that makes sense, there's a lot of power there.
Yeah.
And that's something that thematically works with all the other stuff that's been built up in the story thus far.
Yes.
It's why in some ways we're spending so much time developing our goofy little party, because they're eventually going to be the family that's beyond blood, So, good stuff for that. Shinobu also, I would say, kind of having that moment of real shock when Tanjiro could smell her anger. That was probably the most dramatic break in her countenance we have ever seen thus far.
Yeah, I think so.
And that to me is actually the most, I would say, impactful part. Because she said a line here that I think is really, really, really easy to ignore. And that's that demons always lie, was what she said.
Yeah.
And then she said, I'm exhausted. Now, there was a little bit of other things that said there, but I want to take those two lines and pull out from them what it is. Do you realize then that she's doing, in some ways, what the demons always do? She is constantly putting on airs, putting on a face, lying, if you will, about how she's really doing. This is a classic, my opinion, just classic example of someone that is literally dealing with depression. Like these are just depression symptoms right here in a really, really powerful way, is that they put on a face. I am actually perfectly okay. I have a lot of positivity and I see the good in everything, but it's so consistent. It's so broadcasted that Zenitsu in a previous scene was like, she scares me. And I don't think it's because of the fact that she has the Hashira aura around her. It's of the stuff that he says in addition to that, which is like, she is so like consistent. He says something where it's like, she never like breaks her countenance or her look or something like that, and it freaks him out. Here it is. Shinobu's, this is it. They started something. Shinobu's voice is totally unique. I don't think I've heard anything like it. It lacks regularity and scares me a little. The idea that she has this like kind of voice.
It's too even keel.
Yeah.
Right. And especially when she talks about things like torturing demons, because what, like, you say depression, which I can totally see.
Well, that was why I wanted to tie into the exhaustion bit. Was
right.
that all that effort to hide her anger was immediately undone in an instant. He just, oh, you're really angry. What's going on? And she's like, holy crap, I don't have to pretend right now. I don't have to, like, she's like, I can pass this on to you. I can rest a little bit. I was like, okay, that's some good stuff right there.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
I feel like I kind of mentioned it before, but I want to bring special attention to it, that I absolutely love the idea that she still tortures demons.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it's something where that is such a conflict then, and the idea that it feels like she wants to not do that kind of stuff, but she feels almost possessed by her own hatred and anger, so that she has to do these things before she can even think about anything else. Right. It gives a whole other side to it, where she in some ways is still under the power of the demons, even though, you know, she might be able to dispatch them quite easily.
It's something where she said, I can't fight it. I can't fight it. And those choice of words, that I can't fight it, not that I've lost so many battles to it, it's the I am unable to actually resist it. Meaning that when it's just above a certain threshold, well, now you're dealing with torture, Shinobu.
Right.
And I've spent my whole existence or whole life
getting very good at that.
Well, not only that, but the reason why the voice thing is the specific way is probably because I've spent my whole life trying to keep the anger below that threshold, that the mannerisms are going to stay the same, but the anger is still going to come up. So that's why we get those moments where she's all like, oh, so how many people did you kill? Yeah? Oh, okay. Why are you lying?
Right. And that whole like lying thing, that makes me, now granted, this is just the association in my mind, but that makes me think of Azula always lies, you know. But either way, lying, the only way that you can really be surprised by that, I feel like, is if at some point there was trust, right? You know, if it's like, because
I have a counter thing to that.
Keep
going.
But that makes it seem to me like it was something where Shinobu tried to take up what her sister believed, and it didn't work again and again and again.
Yes, and I would say that is definitely the case, but I don't think it ever went into trust. So one of the things that I've personally experienced, and one of the reasons why I got really depressed in a lot of my younger years, was that from I think the age of like 7 or 8, my parents would tell me stories about how I would freak out and really, really get upset at the idea that everyone lied. Because there was this idea in my mind that if you lied, you were a bad person. So people that lied were bad people. But I started to realize, in some ways really early, that people just lie casually. And it was something that I was like, this freaks me out, because then that means I need to break down the idea that lying either makes you a bad person or just everyone's a bad person. So my kid binary black and white thinking was like, everyone lies. And this is just biologically true. It's not saying that everyone's malicious. Everyone basically stretches the truth a little bit. It's either something where they're not giving conscious effort to retell a story specifically the way it was, or they're just kind of being lazy or something like that, or there's a spectrum, obviously. And we're adults, so we kind of know the difference there. But as a kid, that was something that I remember being really just upset about. But it did shape in a lot of ways my perceptions with regards to people, especially in my teen years, where lying and maybe your life feels a lot more dramatic and something where everything is the end of the world.
Emotions
oh my God, yes, exactly. So I identify and relate a lot to Shinobu's things of they always lie kind of thing. It's something that is true. It's accurate. But the then response to come from that is not that you must always be this perfect beacon then of telling the truth. It in some ways is such that you don't accommodate lies. You don't basically basically cater to that. You basically you speak the truth, you do the best thing you can, and you never try to willfully deceive anyone. But with Shinobu, it's tied so much to this ideal that her sister had that probably got her killed. Like let's
almost definitely. Like
yeah.
Like I'm guessing I don't know what the fact that Shinobu is the insect Hashira. I don't know whether that was something that comes along with the cloak, like the cloak was signifying that she is the insect Hashira, or whether that was just a part of training that like her and her family had, and maybe Shinobu also took up that training. And it was sort of a passed on thing as my sister, rather than like a rank. But
every Demon Slayer that we've met that has shown their training in some way had the forms passed on. There was no one that discovered, as far as we know, their own forms basically through this way.
Totally. I'm just meaning that I'm pretty sure Shinobu was a Hashira, or Shinobu's older sister was a Hashira.
Probably. That makes sense.
So the fact that she died, that's kind of a big deal. Like not just on an emotional level, but also on like a literal level. It probably wasn't because she got beaten in a fight. It was probably because she, wanted to be friends with a demon, say, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. So the Shinobu stuff is really good. I really see a lot of good things that they can do with that. And if this is how they basically kind of spend the rest of the show, kind of giving a little bit of characterization for the characters that we've kind of been newly introduced to. So like the next episode in the preview had something to do with the Kanao. Awesome. Because in some ways, the Demon Slayer organization as a whole is one we're not fully connected to emotionally yet. We don't really have much attachment to them yet, other than kind of the cool aspect of what the Hashiras have as potential, and then just the idea that our boys and Nezuko are going to be working with them.
Right.
So we have that attachment there. But the more we get things like this development and stuff with Shinobu, that means that we have a translator and a filter to put on her dialogue and her actions that give us an understanding of, okay, that's where she's coming from with these things there. So there's a lot of things that can be applied retroactively there. But yeah, training.
There was lots of training in this episode. It was very casual and like just lighthearted and stuff.
Slice of life
in ways that I wasn't expecting, given how serious everything has been the last few episodes. Like, and I feel like Inosuke is a pretty good example of that because he's been so gung ho and everything up till now, right? It's very much been like his whole identity almost. He rams his head into trees over and over again because apparently Tanjiro's forehead is stronger than his, right? And now here he's just lying in bed all day. Like, I mean, he does, the training eventually, but it's the thing of like the fact that he gave up on the training, that blew me away. Yeah. I was like, wow, okay, that he is seriously going through a crisis. Like he needs to completely rebuild himself as a person because he is acknowledging to himself that I don't have the thing that was everything that made him him. Right. That's a big deal.
One of the things that was, and I wanted to bring up Inosuke too, was because we brought up depression here. There were a couple things in Inosuke that were giving me little kind of depression signals.
Oh, yeah.
I think when you've been through stuff like that, you can start to kind of see it in the early manifestation periods, but except for the fact that the only reason why I would say early is just because there hasn't been a lot of time between Inosuke getting thrashed and now, but these kinds of things can happen rather quickly. Is that he said that Zenitsu has what it takes, and I almost kind of laughed at that line in the immediate bit.
Yeah,
but it was framed under the context of Zenitsu is enjoying the pain,
right?
Because he's being fondled or touched basically by a bunch of girls. Cool, that's funny for Zenitsu, but the fact that Inosuke is saying that of kind of the not weak, but the awkward boy of the group who's not really as gung-ho about training and stuff like that is kind of him saying, I'm the useless one of the party now.
Voting himself off the island, kind of just, what do I have then?
And then basically I am weak, what's the point of all this? And then Zenitsu and him both gave up, and the show framed it in a way to say, now only Tanjiro is going to be training now. They're just going to be sleeping for the most part. But they gave a different reason for Zenitsu giving up that they did for Inosuke. Zenitsu seemed to be basically in the thing of, well, you know, I think I've just got it good, and I'm just really wanting the time with the girls. I'm not really like
interested in
the work that goes into the training
sense.
there.
That's how he's been pretty much this whole time, anyways. Like,
right, but Inosuke didn't say anything. In some ways, he wasn't making any complaints. You could just say it was just the funny aspect of, well, you know, their training's really tough,
right? And we draw more face all gaunt, you know.
Yeah, but no, maybe not.
Like it's one of those things that I'm so used to Inosuke being utterly hilarious that every time he's sitting, like, just lying in the bed like that, I always am expecting him to do something where it's the other shoe drops, right? Yeah. And he does something crazy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. And it's like, oh man, he is really not doing well.
So we always love dramatic character introductions, right? And of all the characters in this show, I mean, like,
Inosuke probably had the most dramatic
Inosuke and maybe Zenitsu had some incredibly dramatic character introductions. They are completely different from where they were back then. And maybe not as much for Zenitsu, but Inosuke very much is.
Like,
so if we can combine the stuff that they're probably going to do with Kanao in the next episode with a little bit of Inosuke,
yep,
that's
going to be good. One of the things that I really love that they brought up here, because, like, okay, the whole idea of them quitting the training, one, from a meta perspective, it's also a great explanation as for showcasing the side characters not being as strong as the main character and reasons for it, right? They stopped the training, so it makes sense that the power creep, you know, like the distance between them as far as their competence will get larger, right? But then it's like, okay, Tanjiro learns this idea of practicing the total concentration breathing 24/7, right? And trying to do that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that seems super difficult.
Right.
Why isn't he telling his friends about it?
Yeah.
That seems rather uncharacteristic. You know, like Inosuke would probably really appreciate something like that right now. And then it's oh no, I'm going to figure this out, and then I'm going to teach them. And it's like,
so it's going to be even easier for them.
Yes.
There's the added benefit, and this is something I didn't think of in the episode, but I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, oh, that's why you wait until you've mastered it. Is that for regardless of what angle Inosuke and Zenitsu look at it, there's going to be, I would say, a couple ways that they could look at it. One is, wow, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to follow along this path with you. You're able to do this. Well, then I can do this too.
Yep.
Well, there's the other one. This is more of the Inosuke specific one, which is, the hell? You're the gap's widening even more? The hell no! I'm
right.
I can. If Bochke can do that,
then
right. If Banjiro can do that too, then
right. And
now that might not be where he's at emotionally.
Maybe it'd be something where he finds out and then he's like, oh, because with the Hashiras, I would say it's easy if you realize that they're doing it to be like, well, they're Hashiras, they're monsters, they're, you know, like, of course they do something like that.
They're human, though.
They're human, but, you know, they're so stupidly badass in the reality is stranger than fiction kind of way, where it's just like, how could I do that, right?
Right.
But if Tanjiro does it, then maybe that would, you know, say, hey, I can actually potentially do this.
Yeah.
But it could also maybe be something, depending on where Inosuke's at, of, I guess I really am pathetic. Yeah. Even Tanjiro's able to do this stuff, you know. Not me.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, we've got the Hashira going on some mission.
Yep.
Kyojuro, kind of getting a little bit of a send off from Shinobu of "Don't die."
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think that if anything, that's something we'll also probably see in the next episode is maybe a concurrent double plot line, you know, while they're training, and I want so much there to be a moment, basically, where it's the thing of like, oh, yeah, it was one of the 12 Kizuki. And maybe, like, Kyojuro is like, okay, yeah, like, ends up coming in there, and it becomes a real fight. Kyujuro's really strong. And maybe
Muzan
Daddy Muzan needs to show up and save Kizuki.
Yep. One of the things that I was kind of wondering about is, given that Kyojuro is the Flame Hashira,
yes,
Tanjiro Now, he has the water-breathing techniques.
But he did tap into a flame-style move.
The flame style and all that stuff, so...
with his father's dance and stuff.
With the father's dance. So theoretically, if he did end up eventually becoming a Hashira, he could fit into one of the slots for either Gyu or Kyojuro. Now, for Gyu, it would make a lot of sense for there to be a point where Gyu dies, since he was the first Hashira introduced. So even though he wasn't the mentor figure, he was kind of that sort of power ceiling symbol, beacon, whatever you want to call it, right? So if he ended up dying, that would be a very, very sobering moment, right?
Right.
But you could also potentially do that for Kyojuro, because he was the one that, I'm sorry, Tengen, but he was the one who was the most flamboyant out of everybody in that initial meeting.
Ha 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 ha! Yeah, I gotta say, the laugh that he gave there, I was kind of joking at it in the beginning of the episode, but now I'm kind of imagining that laugh being taken away from us, and I'm like, I didn't even get to know why that laugh existed.
Well, and also how terrifying that would be for demons, to have someone be cutting you down by the dozens, and all the while, ha ha ha.
Well, there's the obvious All Might connections there.
Right.
Then there's the other thing of, well, Shinobu puts on a smile. Mm-hmm. Maybe this guy puts on a laugh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So here we go.
If we got a fight,
I want to see. This is this. I don't have really much more to discuss. I just want to see UFO Table animate some more flames.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
That's where I'm at.
If we got because I don't think Tanjiro and Nezuko and everybody is really going to have any more big conflicts as far as actual fighting for the rest of this season. In this season, probably not. Right?
Probably not.
They're in a good place to end it here. Episode 19 was fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. But if Kyojuro gets into a fight like that, I would be very happy to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. That would be really cool.
Yeah. So there you go, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. So you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. It's got super special, awesome swords, and it's really cool. It's on Amazon. Link in the description below. Go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see it there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.